Welcome back now to one of the tightest governor's races in the country, and one that we've all been following from a national perspective. That's in Georgia, which has been flooded with surrogates. Oprah on Thursday. Vice President Pence, who reminded us he was kind of a big deal too, was also there that day. President Obama on Friday, and President Trump, who was holding a rally in Macon, Georgia, there this afternoon. So joining me now is the Democratic nominee for governor, Stacey Abrams. If she wins, she would make history as the nation's first female African-American governor. Ms. Abrams, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you for having me.
Look, let me be honest. Did you think the Sunday before the election you'd be in a coin flip race?
We were preparing for every eventuality, and I'm excited to be in a dead heat because I know that we are going to turn out voters who have never voted before.
It feels as if the final debate about this election has really been about how to count the votes and who gets to vote. It hasn't been as much about some of the issues. How concerned are you that this is going to be a fair vote? I know the last time we were on, you expressed optimism that this was going to be a fair election, that you would trust the results. Do you still feel that way?
I do. We have seen unprecedented turnout in this race from people who normally do not engage and do not vote. Some of that has been driven by the conversations of voter suppression, because one of the best ways to encourage people to use something is to tell them that someone's trying to take it away. Luckily, we've had 2 court decisions against Brian Kemp, one that requires that absentee ballots be counted even if the signatures aren't exactly the same, and a second one that forces him to stop using the exact match system to disqualify voters who are qualified. But what is more important is that we have talked about issues. We've talked about jobs and health care and education, and that's also engaging people and turning them out in waves that we have not seen in Georgia in decades.
The president's going to be in Macon, Georgia today. He said you just simply weren't qualified to be governor. He didn't say why. How did you take that assessment?
I find his assessments to be vapid and shallow. I am the most qualified candidate. I am a business owner. I'm a tax attorney who was trained at Yale Law School. I am a civic leader who helped register more than 200,000 Georgians. I am a very accomplished political leader who worked across the aisle to improve access to education, to transportation, and I blocked the single largest tax increase in Georgia history. There is no one more qualified standing for this office in Georgia, and I look forward to having the voters of Georgia say the same.
You know, it's interesting, when Oprah Winfrey came to campaign for you, she said something that may have surprised some of your supporters that were in the audience that day. Take a listen.
I am a registered independent because I don't want any party and I don't want any kind of partisan influence telling me what decisions I get to make for myself.
Obviously, you want to win over independents. So on one hand, of course, having somebody as famous as Oprah Winfrey saying, I'm an independent, come on, independents, come with me, vote with Stacey Abrams. But do you think that sends a negative message to Democrats at all, as you're trying to fire Democrats up to get them to support your campaign?
I believe Oprah's presence fires people up because she has been fiercely independent her entire life. And I think what she's saying is this is an election about the issues. Listen to the conversations happening between the candidates. Look at who's showing up, who's talking about issues, who has comprehensive plans for your life, and make a decision not based simply on party, but on record and on intention. And I'm the only candidate who shows up every time, who has detailed, comprehensive plans for Georgia, but most importantly, who keeps her promises and honors her commitments. And I think what she's signaling to independents and everyone else is that this is the time to make a choice based on who's best for Georgia. And she believes that I am it, as do I.
You know, one of the things it seems to me, this has been a very bitter campaign. You've called your opponent a liar. He's used some harsh language. If you win, you're going to have a very large Republican majority in the Georgia legislature. Yes, maybe Democrats make a few gains there, but you're going to be dealing with a Republican legislature. You have to work across the aisle if you're going to accomplish anything. How do you repair this divide? Let's be honest, you know it feels worse than ever. How are you going to try to do this?
Number one, I've run this campaign going to every single part of the state. I have not ignored a single community or county because I believe that my job is to speak to every single voter. Number two, if you look at the issues I talk about, education, high-class education for everyone, access to health care in every community, and making sure that we have good-paying jobs, this cuts across partisanship. But most importantly, I can stand on my record. I was the leader of Democrats in a majority Republican legislature, and I was able to work across the aisle and get good done. We can disagree on principles, but we have a common responsibility to Georgians. And I've always said, people don't care about your party, they care about their lives. And as the next governor, my goal is going to be to bring everyone together to solve the problems we can solve together, certainly leading with my values, faith and family and service, but recognizing that everyone comes to the table as a Georgian and we have to work together.
Is there an idea your opponent, Brian Kemp, has put forward that that if you won, you would actually also put forward?
Absolutely. We completely agree on the need to increase teacher pay. We agree on the need for public safety. We just have a different idea about how we get there and whose responsibility it is. Unfortunately, he has some good slogans, but he has no comprehensive plans for what he wants to accomplish. We have not only slogans, but detailed plans that tell you where we're going to go and how we're going to pay for it. You don't have to raise taxes in Georgia to raise expectations and raise outcomes.
If you're running for re-election 4 years from now, what's the one accomplishment you have to have in order for you to feel as if you deserve a chance at re-election?
The expansion of Medicaid in the state of Georgia, providing access to health care coverage to 500,000 Georgians, creating thousands of jobs, and making certain that we repair our broken mental health system so that every single person in Georgia who faces trouble, faces challenges, does not feel the stigma of mental health and instead knows that they have access to substance abuse treatment and to mental health care treatment. If we can get that done, that's the baseline for a lot of work.
This legislature rejected it before. What makes you think your election is going to make them not reject expanding Medicaid?
Because we have seen an evolution in the state as more and more states have expanded Medicaid. In fact, 17 states led by Republicans have done so, 15 led by Democrats. In the states that have expanded Medicaid, they've seen their costs go down, they've seen their outcomes improve, and they've seen increases in their bottom line. And I think that legislators on both sides of the aisle, especially Republicans, who represent these rural hospitals on the brink of closure, are going to be willing to do what it takes to save the lives of their constituents.
Stacey Abrams, I got to leave it there, the Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia. And because of an arcane runoff rule that you guys have there, there's a chance you get to keep campaigning through December. So I guess rest up and stay safe on the trail. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
We have invited Republican Brian Kemp to appear, as we did the last time that we had Stacey Abrams on, and once again, he declined.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.